Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of our Whisky Wednesdays. Good to see so many people in. Good to see Patient Wolf Gin in. Good to see the Truck Farm Co. My name's Samuel Accardi. I'm the brand ambassador for McHenry Distillery. And today we'll be showcasing one of the weirdest and wackiest spirits that we've ever made at McHenry Distillery. We're looking at Baijiu. I'm just going to wait for a little bit more, some more people to get in. I'm going to tell you what Baijiu is. Then we're going to mix the world's most un-mixable spirit today. So this is going to really test my not being a bartender skills by mixing something that isn't really meant to be mixed or culturally is mixed. Got lots of people in already. Good to see Josh. Hope you're well. Good to see Evie. Good to see Joseph. Good to see Sandra. Good to see so many people in on a sunny Wednesday afternoon up here in Melbourne. So let's get off and let's get started. So what is Baijiu? Baijiu is basically the national spirit of China. It is the biggest selling and made spirit in the world. In 2018, there was 10.8 billion litres produced. If you think about that, that's whiskey, gin, tequila, vodka, and rum, all production, put into one, and then that's not even Baijiu levels. So Baijiu is an absolute behemoth of world spirits, but it's probably one of the lesser known in the world. It's an incredibly interesting spirit. It doesn't taste or smell like anything you've probably had before, unless you've had Baijiu. And we've made Australian Baijiu. I think we're one of only one or two people who ever have done that. So it's really unique. It's super funky, but I'm really excited today to showcase what Baijiu is, showcase what a Tasmanian Baijiu is, and make up two cocktails. And at the end, our classic segment, mixing our whiskey with something, will be returning. So we're keeping it nice, and we're keeping in the spirit of Whisky Wednesdays of sort of pushing the boundaries of what spirits are and just showcasing weird and wacky things. We've done brandy, we've done our cask expressions, and that's why we're doing Baijiu today. So Baijiu is fermented sorghum. So sorghum's a type of grain. We do make sorghum in Australia, but it's actually one of the highest consumption of water. So it's like cotton. We require a lot of water to actually produce it. So it's not really great for Australia, but it does suit the Chinese environments and climates. Baijiu is a drink that is normally drunk in, doing my research, raucous feasts on banquet tables. It's a celebratory drink. When you're having a meal with your family or friends, or special guests, the Baijiu comes out and you drink it in the meal. You toast people. If you're the guest, you get toasted. So it's really quite a celebratory drink. And the tasting notes are incredibly hilarious. I'm going to have to read off my sheet here. It says, for many non-Chinese drinkers, its aromas is described as resembling stinky cheese, aniseed, pineapples, musk, and gasoline. And yeah, it does. So it's one of the spirits that we did a really limited run. So we had a client who wanted it, but then in the end they didn't want it. So we ended up taking full possession of all the spirit. And that's what we got left with. We have a smoky version, which it's not like a peated Isla. It's almost mesquite-y. The best tasting note is it smells like bushfire, sort of. It smells like a wet bushfire. Once it's all gone through and then it's been hosed down. It's just a weird, I'm going to have a bit of a smell. It's a really interesting smell. So we smoked this one, and because sorghum's a very pungent grain, it comes up with this really weird flavour characteristic. But because of the spring water is crucial to making Baijiu, and that's sort of why we did choose to make it, because of the abundance of natural springs. So this is probably the longest I've ever talked in an introduction before. I think let's get straight into a drink. That's enough of me talking, and then I'll sort of go on what Baijiu is. There's 6 flavour categories, sort of like gin, so we'll go through that, and yeah, let's get into the first drink. Today we're just going to be using the classic Baijiu. To me, it smells like porridge. To me, that's what it really is. And sort of when you think about it, it's that wet grain, fermented porridge. It's just, it's not like a sweet porridge, but it's interesting. And that's why we're going to use it today in cocktails. It's not really meant to be mixed, but Whisky Wednesdays, we sort of do what we sort of like to push the boundaries. So let's get into it. So today we're going to be making a Hong Kong Mule. So a bit of a Moscow Mule spin-off. But instead of using vodka, we're going to be using our Baijiu. So I'm going to fill my glass with some ice. And feel free to ask any questions. Good to see people. Good to see Travis. Good to see Tom. Hope you're well, Henry from Applewood Distillery. Go check out his live streams. They've got heaps on, and I got to be on there a couple of weeks ago. We had a great little time. So yeah, good to see you, mate. I'm going to have to get you a sample of the Baijiu. It's some truly wacky spirits. So let's put a little bit more ice in there. And then this is super simple. Basically, what we're going to be doing is putting 25 ml of lime juice. So we'll start with our cheapest ingredient. So put your lime juice in. Then we're going to put our Baijiu in. So this recipe calls for 60 ml. I'm not going to use 60 ml of Baijiu because that's quite potent. It comes in at 52% alcohol. So it's quite a boozy little spirit. I'm going to use about 45 ml. So we'll put that in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to top that with ginger beer. So I thought we could use a non-alcoholic ginger beer, but I really like this one from Brookvale Union. They're Aussie. And yeah, we're just going to top that with some ginger beer. We'll put that in. I didn't want to put any garnishes on today because we want the Baijiu to sort of stand through. And I've just nearly run out of the lemons, so we couldn't get any in time. So give that a little bit of a quick stir. As you know, I love ginger drinks. So this is going to be really interesting to see. So yeah, this is a Hong Kong mule. So a take on the Moscow mule. And let's get a bit of a taste. It's super spirit forward. You need that lime in there and the ginger. This ginger beer is quite gingery, yet it's just spirit heavy. It's really quite interesting. You can sort of see it's big and powerful. It tastes on this really, I'm going to have another sip. It's got this like wheated background. So when you're using vodka, you sort of lose that spirit. But this, you get that ginger, the lime, and at the back of your throat, it's like toast. It's like a toasty ginger beer. So these are cocktails which I've never tried before, I've never made before, but that's sort of what we wanted to do today. Just sort of have a bit of fun and use a spirit that's really quite, in the grand scheme of things, huge, but in Western culture and Western world, quite a small little drink. So that's really interesting. I'm going to get into the 6 different flavour categories of Baijiu, and then we're going into our second drink. So the 6 different fragrances they're called. So when you've got your gins, you've got your London Dries, your slow gins, your New Age, your Neos, all those different kinds. Here we've got, there's a sauce fragrance, which is like a soy sauce sort of funky one, which I'd almost put that into. That's where that sort of comes from. Then you've got the honey fragrance, the layered, the light, the rice, the sauce, and the thick. I'm not honestly sure where these sort of fall into. I'd say this is a light because I used to work at the tennis, and in my last year when I was at uni, I used to just work at the tennis centre, and we used to do the Australian Open. In my final year, the Australian Open was sponsored by Baijiu, and I still remember, I can't really say his name, but he's the head of Tennis Australia, gave me a shot of Baijiu on our final, on the grand final, the men's final night, and it was probably one of the worst things I've ever tasted. And it's just an interesting spirit, and my palate wasn't used to it. So that's sort of why we wanted to showcase this. It is a really cool thing. Super limited release. We probably won't make it again with the, actually we might. We talked about, I was just on the phone with the guys down in Tassie. Because the brewery's being built, we may do another lot of it and sort of refine the recipe. We probably wouldn't do a smoky one again, but we might try this again. I've got 2 comments here. Jackie says, toast you say, appropriate for breakfast. Yeah, look, we'll give it a crack. I think so. Ginger on toast. You could almost put a bit of like lime marmalade in here to get a bit more of that richer, sweeter, just round off the spirit, I think. Joseph says a Wuhan mule. This probably, it's not high enough to kill anything, but yeah, it's a good one actually. But yeah, I think let's get into our second cocktail. So today we're going to be making a sort of, it's called a Sichuan sour. So I went online and there aren't many cocktails with Baijiu, so I went on to the National Baijiu Association and basically I just got the cocktails from there. So what we're going to do is we're going to making a sour today. So I'm going to get my coupe glass. Good to see Jackie from the Whisky collection as well. And let's get going. Got our shaker. Oh, what a catch. First thing you need to do though is not drop your shaker. So once again, we're going to get some ice in there. And feel free to ask any questions because it is a weird and wacky spirit. And then we're going to put 1 big cube. So this one, really quite a tropical drink. What we're going to do is put in 30 ml of pineapple juice. So just fresh pineapple juice, and we'll put that in there. Then what we're going to do is put 30 ml of lime juice in as well. So put that in there. And then it calls for passion fruit liqueur. So into Dan's today, this stuff's actually delicious. So never really used this before. And this calls for 15 ml. So half a shot. So yeah, this is the first time I've ever had this passion fruit liqueur. It smells like passion fruit UDLs. That's my tasting note for that. It's a lovely red colour as well. So we'll just put that there. And then it also calls for a navy strength rum. I didn't really want to open my bottle of Bacardi 151, and I've got a lot of other nice rums. And I sort of thought, I want to adapt this recipe to be even more tropical. And because I'm the youngest brand ambassador, I'm going to be using Malibu, because it's delicious. So today we're going to be using some lovely coconut rum that we all probably drank on schoolies or back in the day, but I think it's going to add that nice tropical sort of characteristic we're going for here. So once again, we're going to add in 15 ml. Actually, yeah, 15 ml. And because the Baijiu is quite boozy, we can sort of afford to not have a Navy strength rum in there. Oh, that's beautiful. I like some really fancy whiskies, and I love all those intricate gins, but I've sort of found during all these live streams that Midori and Malibu smell amazing and taste amazing, and I'll argue anyone on that. So we've got everything in there. Now it's time for our Baijiu. So what this calls for is 45 ml. So we're going to use 45 ml in here. There we go. All right, and then we're going to have a shake. So I've kept my coupe glass in the fridge so it's nice and chilled. Once again, make sure nice and shaken, we don't want it to explode. And let's have a shake. Done. Ooh, it's very frothy, and that's the beauty of using pineapple juice. It froths up when you shake it. All right. Just going to single strain this one. I don't really mind that there's going to be little bits of ice in there. It's going to add to that nice tropical. But feel free to double strain it if you'd like. This looks lovely, to be quite honest. I'm actually quite excited for this. So yeah, that's our Sichuan sour. Using Baijiu from McHenry Distillery, a limited release of our Baijiu. Using some coconut rum, some passion fruit liqueur, orange, lemons, lime juice. Oh, got my citruses mixed up. Lime juice and pineapple juice. Good to see lots of people in. Good to see Whisky Holic in. Hope you're well, mate. Good to see Brenton. Good to see Steph. Good to see Tim. I love these cocktails with that nice little bit of foam. And you can garnish them, but once again, today I like that foam. And the same as the espresso martinis. You probably want to drink, I like to drink these quite quickly, so I don't really want the garnish in there. But let's have a little bit of a taste. That's actually really nice. It's from a mouthfeel perspective, it's super smooth and nice backbone of coconut, but the Baijiu shines here. It's really weird because you think of all those weird, wacky, tasty notes. Here, it adds that maltiness. Whoa, this is unreal. You could serve this over crushed ice almost. Put a bit of cream in there and have a Baijiu colada almost. So this is actually, as you can see, I've probably surprised myself here. It's an interesting spirit, but I'm really happy how this has turned out. The passion fruit liqueur adds that nice little bit of zest, and the pineapple juice just rounds that out. Whisky Holic, we've got a comment here. I have a number of contacts who are into Baijiu. You might have to get a case when they're back on. Definitely give us a buzz. We've got some left over down there, so it's an interesting little spirit, and I think it's important to showcase sort of lesser known spirits in Australia, so that's why we want to do this today. That's a winner. I'm really impressed with that. I think that's probably going to go into that's probably where the rest of this bottle is going to go. And you could try a smoky version too. So really the possibility is quite endless. We're going to have another sip of this. Feel free to send any questions through. And yeah, I think before we get into our last drink, I'm going to give a bit of a brewery update. So we posted on Instagram yesterday an update of our brewery. So the building's done, the equipment's getting all plumbed in, and the electricians are down there. And then within the next couple of weeks, we'll be brewing our own wash. And wash is what you put into the still to make whiskey. So it's basically an unhopped beer. So that's really exciting for us that we're moving away from bringing in the wash to producing it ourselves. And that gives us the possibilities to do peated runs, to play around with different mash bills and what goes into what grains. We could do some grain whiskey. We don't even know yet what we could do, but it's going to be really cool. We'll probably make some beer as well for the local area. So that's a little update from us. Sanitizer we're continuing to provide for the Tasmanian hospitals, doctor surgery. So not publicly available, but we wanted to just keep that for the medical industry. And that gets us on to my favourite and the people's favourite segment of mixing our nice single malt whiskey with a soft drink. And today we've sort of moved away from using a Coke or a cola. The Pepsi sort of scarred me. And today we're going to be using one of Scotland's finest. We're going to be using Iron Brew. So The best way I can describe this is if you've ever had Lucozade and creamy soda, add those together and you get Iron Brew. Meant to be a hangover cure in Scotland, and probably Scotland's second national drink after whiskey. So this one's going to be super simple. As always, we get our nice rocks glass, put a nice block of ice in there. Once again, we're using barrel 19 because that's what I've got opened. And yeah, sometimes people don't like me using this, but I'll go on my weekly rant of whiskey should be drunk however you like, and I'll stick by that. So if you want to mix it with anything, also, sometimes it tastes really delicious, like vanilla Coke and single malt whiskey is great. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to use 15ml, make a half serve. I've still got emails to do this afternoon, so yeah. Put that in, and yeah, let's have a crack, see how this goes. But yeah, feel free to send any comments through about this. I sort of love when people sort of don't like that I do it, but that's sort of what my goal and the goal at the distillery is. We want to change the way whiskey's perceived. So yeah, let's have a crack. Iron Brew is a very interesting colour. So we'll pour that in there. Yeah. Once again, we'll give that a little bit of a wee bit of a stir. All right, now let's have a crack at this. So far, we've tasted vanilla Coke, Coke, Pepsi, and now we're up to the 4th week of this. So let's give it a crack. That's really yum. I can't deny that. It's just really yum. Iron Brew is nice on its own. Our single malt whiskey is really nice too. It's different. It's definitely above Pepsi, but because it's not a cola, that's why it's probably a completely different thing. I like it. I can't lie. It's quite tasty, so it suits what I quite like to drink, and it ruffles people's feathers, which is a big thing for us about changing the perceptions of how to drink single malt whiskey. And then there shouldn't be any way to drink single malt whiskey. The way you drink whiskey is the way you like to drink whiskey. So that's always going to be a big thing for us on these streams. So cheers. We'll go through once again. Feel free to send anything about Baijiu as well. I'll give some facts about it as well. So yeah, 10.8 billion litres a year is produced. It originated in the 1300s through the Yuan dynasty, and the Baijiu we know today actually came about in the 1600s with the Ming dynasty. So it's quite a historical drink. It's been a big part of Chinese culture, and it's actually becoming a lot more popular, especially in America. Baijiu is sort of creeping into more and more bars. So it's really interesting to see how non-traditional Western spirits move into other areas, and I think it's really exciting. And for us that we're making Australian Baijiu is quite odd, but it sort of makes, it's great because we can talk about it. And yeah, feel free to send in more questions. I'll go through again. And then yeah, we'll be back on Sunday with our Sunday sessions. We're doing long drinks this week. So we've got some Singapore slings. I've got some of the ingredients here. I've got our cherry herring. I've got some Benedictine. Had a good shop at Dan's today. Some Long Island iced teas. And then we're going to get, we don't know what our third one's going to be yet. I haven't planned that far ahead, but we're keeping that long, boozy, summery tropical drinks to get us through these wintry isolation months. So hope you're all well. Yeah, people are quite enjoying this, so it's good to see. We're going to start with this one first. That's really nice. The cooler it gets, the better it gets. Now we'll go on to our Hong Kong Mule. This has changed now. It's far more toasty. You've got so much more of that sorghum characteristic coming through. So I think the best way to sort of put this was if you had porridge and it poured in ginger beer. Or ginger. It's a very gingery, wheated. I like it. I like porridge. I like this. It's unique though. If we use this one, it'd be completely characteristic to almost be like a smoky ginger. But definitely, ooh, there's a kick to it because it is 52% alcohol. It's got a little bit of bite. And then definitely the hands down winner for today. This Sichuan Sour is an absolute classic. It's super tropical. It looks cool. It's a beautiful colour. That hint of coconut and that slight malty sorghum taste. I reckon that really works together. So yeah, we'll hope to see you on Sunday. Thank you for tuning in on this Wednesday afternoon. We hope you're all keeping well and safe. From behalf of myself and team at McHenry Distillery, happy Whisky Wednesdays, and we'll see you on Sunday. Thanks guys. I'll grab this one. Cheers.